Hello and welcome back to our channel. My name is Tristan and today we are going to be making a giant slice of pepperoni pizza. Now what I'm going to do is instead of making a circular pizza and cutting the triangle slices out of it, I actually have my oven rack here covered in tin foil. And this is about 2 feet long by maybe 1.5 feet wide. And I'm going to try and make the biggest slice that I can. Now there's a couple different ways that you can do this. If you're going to be making the pizza immediately, you want to start by preheating your oven to about 500 degrees with the pizza stone in there. Now with the baking sheet and baking rack that I'm doing it, I'm actually going to be making the dough right on the pizza rack, so I'm not going to be able to preheat that, but I will start with preheating the oven to 500 degrees. Now, if you're gonna be letting your dough sit overnight to give it more of that tangy flavor, go ahead, make the dough, what I'm about to show you right now, and then tomorrow, when you go ahead to make your pizza, that's when you'll wanna start preheating your oven. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to make the dough. I'm gonna be using a KitchenAid mixer here, but you can use a normal bowl, use your hands, whatever you want. Now, step one, in a small bowl, we wanna add 3/4 a cup of water, and you'll wanna make sure that that water is lukewarm, not too hot and not too cold. Next, let's go ahead and add 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And finally, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And make sure to keep that olive oil handy for later on. Now, either with a tiny whisk or a tiny fork, go ahead and mix that together until it's all mixed in and you don't see any lumps. Now, when the texture is all smooth and cloudy looking, go ahead and set that aside and we'll use that just in a second. The next thing we want to do is we want to combine our 2 different types of flour into our mixing bowl. We have all-purpose flour and we also have bread flour. So first we'll do 1 cup of bread flour and then we will do 1 cup of all-purpose flour. The next thing we're gonna add is 1 teaspoon of sea salt. After that's all mixed in good, we're gonna go get our yeast mixture from earlier and we're gonna add that into our mixer. Once you add that all in there, go ahead and either knead it with your hands or use your mixer until it's in a nice dough ball. If you need to, go ahead and add more water if it's a little bit too dry to make sure that you get a nice cohesive ball. Now, once your dough ball is finished, go ahead and put it in a separate bowl that has been greased with olive oil, cover it tightly with plastic wrap, and then put it in a refrigerated or a cool space for about 15 minutes if you're planning on using it right away, or overnight if you're planning on using it tomorrow. Now, once your dough ball is cooled, go ahead and remove the plastic wrap, and on a lightly floured surface, go ahead and take your dough ball out and knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. The goal here is to really knead the dough until it is smooth and elastic. That way you can stretch it and mold it to the shape of the pizza that you want. Now, after you're done kneading your dough, it should feel really airy and fluffy, and that's when you know it's ready. Now, if you're going for the best tasting pizza dough recipe, you're gonna wanna put this back into your lightly greased bowl and cover it with plastic wrap for about 3 more hours. Now, the reason you wanna do this is it will give it more of that fluffy, risy feel to it, and it will also make it so that when your dough's spread out, it doesn't contract back in just like that. Now instead, what I'm gonna do, because I'm planning on using it right away, is I'm gonna cover it and let it sit for about 15 to 20 more minutes just so that it gets back to room temperature. Now, while you're waiting for your pizza dough to rise, there's a few things that you can do to get ready. The first one is you wanna get your pizza sauce of choice out. Now I'm just using the classic ragu from Walmart. You can use whatever you want, make it homemade, maybe it'll even taste a little bit better. But again, on this video, we're going for size and not really for quality. Next, I'm gonna be using 2 bags of mozzarella cheese, 2 smaller bags instead of 1 big bag. Again, just get any mozzarella cheese that's gonna work for you. And lastly, I have a bag of pepperonis here, getting it ready just for the classic pepperoni pizza. Now, I'll also be using a rolling pin to roll out my dough. However, if you're making a circular pizza, you probably don't wanna use a rolling pin, and you wanna just kind of do that kneading method where you kind of roll it out with your hands in a circular motion to make it go all floppy and make it a nice circular pattern. Now, the final thing that I got here is I got a piece of parchment paper, and the reason why I did that is there's actually 2 reasons. The first reason is I cut it out to the exact size of my oven rack. That way I know how big of a pizza I can actually make. The second reason is that way when I roll the dough out on here, I can easily transfer it over to my pizza rack. That way I don't have to worry about it falling apart and getting sticky and messy and maybe not getting it onto the pizza sheet perfectly. All right, once your dough is nice and ready, go ahead and plop it down on your parchment paper, get your rolling pin out, and get it to the shape that you want it to be. All right, now that I have it rolled out in the shape of slightly a pizza, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a pizza cutter to get it that nice triangular shape, get it those nice triangular edges. And one thing that you notice is I actually left a little bit extra dough on the edge here because I'm gonna make stuffed cheesy crust for this slice. All right, now that we got the pieces cut off, we'll go ahead and peel these off to get that nice triangular shape, and we're gonna go ahead and save these for later. Now, the first thing I wanna do is make some of that nice cheesy crust. So we're gonna go ahead and get some of our mozzarella cheese, and we're gonna sprinkle it all along the top here. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna roll the top of the dough over here to make a nice covered crust. And go ahead and push it in to make sure it's nice and tight. After you do that, go ahead and flatten it down a little bit so that it cooks more evenly, and then we're ready to add our sauce. So again, get your sauce of choice and start spooning it out onto the pizza. Go ahead and make sure not to do this too heavily and start spreading it around before you go a little too far because we don't want a soggy pizza. Add a little bit more sauce as needed to make sure the whole thing is covered. That way I have some sauce in every bite. And after that, we are ready to add our cheese. Get some of your mozzarella cheese and start sprinkling it on. I like a pretty cheesy pizza, so I'm gonna put a lot of cheese on there. Now, if you get nice and cheesed up, go ahead and get the rest of your toppings, in my case, just some pepperoni, and go ahead and spread it all over. And as always, when you're making a pizza, make sure to taste some of your toppings to make sure that you really do want them. Yep, that's a good one. Now, even though the pizza's done, we are not quite ready to put it in the oven yet. So let's go ahead and move this to the side. And what we're gonna do is, like I said earlier, use these for something special. We're gonna make some nice bread bites. Now with these, you're gonna wanna be able to kind of roll them up a little, similar to like what you would do with a cinnamon roll. So go ahead and cut them at about 6-inch lengths all along the line. And you can kind of do these however you want. I want to kind of make them pepperoni and cheese bread bites. So they're like mini pizzas. You can dip them in marinara sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and put one pepperoni on the middle of each of them. This one over here is a little bit small, so maybe we'll do something else with it. And then we're going to get some more mozzarella cheese and sprinkle it on top of each one. Now what you'll want to do is you'll want to roll these up and try and keep as much cheese in it as possible while doing so. So go ahead and just kind of tuck it in and make them a nice little balls. All right, once you have your pizza balls ready, we're gonna go ahead and set those to the side. That way we can go ahead and bring back in our pizza. Now it's time to actually put this in the oven. So again, make sure your oven's preheated. I'm actually going to be using an oven rack to go ahead and transfer my pizza from the parchment paper to my oven to make sure it doesn't fall off, but go ahead and get it to there any way that works for you. Also, don't forget to add your little bites in along the outsides. And once everything's fully in the oven, go ahead and leave it in there for about 12 to 15 minutes until it looks ready. Alrighty, now before we do anything else, we always need to make sure we get some good shots for the thumbnail. And there we go, our giant pizza with bread bites. Also, you wanna make sure not to leave it in too long. You can see some of my parts start getting a little bit burnt, but overall, it's pretty good.
This is a giant pizza slice.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What did you think I was doing?
A giant pizza.
A giant pizza slice. Isn't that so much cooler than just like a little bit bigger of a pizza? Now for the official measurements of the pizza, it is exactly from crust to tip, 2 feet, and at the widest part, 10 inches wide.
Hey, Tristan wanted me to figure out the exact math measurements of a sliced pizza, so he said it's 2 inches long, or 2 feet long, so 24 inches across and 10 inches this way. So to find the area, we do half the height times the base, that'd be 12 times 10, which would be 120 inches square. Right here.
All right, now to cut up and taste the pizza. There's really no good way to cut up a giant slice, so we're kind of just going for it. Some of that nice cheesy crust is looking good. There we go, all cut up. And now, before we try some of the pizza, we gotta try one of our little bread bites. Have some leftover pizza sauce here that we can dip it in. These little pizza bites, A+, super yummy, like mini little pizzas. Kind of like Hot Pockets, you know? And now to try one of these pieces, get a good look of it up close, I picked one of the cheesy crust pizzas just so we can try that out. That is some of the best pizza I've ever made. The crust is really good too. I want to dip in some of this marinara sauce.
I'm so excited. Which piece should I eat? Crust or no crust? Crust?
Crust is pretty good.
All right, here we go. That is good.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it? Just keep in mind, if it's anything under an 8, I'm not gonna cook for you again.
12?
Yeah, there we go. Just kidding. Honest opinion, what do you think?
It's really good. Definitely one of the best ones we've made.
You wanna try some of the cheesy crust? Dip it in the sauce, nice and cheesy. Bend it a little bit to get it in there.
I'll have the rest of it.
You wanna try one of the cheesy bites? Get a good looking one.
They kind of look like they have hot dogs in them.
They have mini pepperonis in there. They're kind of like pigs in a blanket. Pretty good?
It does taste just like a little mini pizza with some sauce.
Nice. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Probably not, because I actually get to eat the pizza. But if you want to make it yourself, I'll leave a link to the recipe I used down below. And hey, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and hit that subscribe button to watch future videos we make. And we'll see you guys next time.